Hey, somebody's got to clean my spikes. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV, the small town business with the national reputation. There are a variety of power sport products at Tucker ATV, Hustler turf equipment, Echo power tools, and of course the stars of the showroom, every make and model of Polaris ATV, even the big Polaris side-by-sides and the even bigger Ranger Crew. Tucker ATV will be one of your favorite stops. The taxidermy, the antique displays, along with a porch inside the place with a porch swing, comfortable chairs, television, and free coffee. When you stop in, Shannon, and sometimes Shannon and Lisa, will greet you personally. They treat customers like family, which is why folks from 14 states have done business with Tucker ATV. Visit the Tucker ATV Facebook page and read Lisa's articles, very funny, or visit them in person. Tucker ATV on Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer, and we love it when somebody comes to the table with both. We have an amazing guest today who has a book coming out that you definitely want to get. If you're a sports fan, you want this book. If you're a parent, you want this book. If you have a parent, you want this book. This is a book written by somebody that has had the best seat in the house, and that's the name of the book, The Best Seat in the House. Please welcome Jack Nicklaus II. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Andy. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, I appreciate you being here. You know, you are currently the president of Nicklaus Design, and I notice you're still vice chairman of the Nicklaus Company, though.
I am. I've been fortunate to grow up in the family business. I work alongside my father, mostly doing golf course design work. And, my dad is now going to be 82 next week. I'm not that far behind him. And as you know, the years go by fast, but I've had so much fun working alongside my father, creating golf courses. I think if you find something you love, it's never going to be a day of work. And I think that's what I've done alongside my father.
Now, you actually had a pro career for a while and had a tick-borne disease that kind of put you into golf course design.
Well, maybe a blessing by disguise. I'm pretty skinny right now, and if I had to actually make a living and feed myself playing golf, I'd be even skinnier. Yes, I did get bit by a tick. I was right at 30 years of age, and we were out in the woods hunting. I was with my father and my brother, and as small as an insect as they are, they can wipe you out. And it wiped me out for a good year and a half, and kind of diverted my efforts where I couldn't play golf anymore to getting more involved with golf course design. And that's about the time that I switched over.
But, that you're right, that may have been a blessing in disguise, because you've actually been recognized by selection into the Society of Golf Course Architects. I mean, you have 50 courses that are open and playing.
Yeah, it's been a real privilege to be able to help developers shape the land. I'm very proud of my golf courses. I have 5 children, but they're also like children to me. They're each my favorite in their own special way. And anyway, it's not only a privilege to work on these golf courses, but it's a big responsibility too. You're dealing with a lot of developer money and construction money, and you want to make some good decisions out there. Very proud of the work that we've done. Thanks.
What prompted you to write this book, especially at this time? I mean, your dad is 82, and I have all my life I've heard awesome things about your dad. And I can't play golf, but I'm a person who pays attention to how people act, and your dad is a person of great character, and that has been proven over the years. And so, what was in your mind as you got started on this now?
Well, it kind of goes back to the experience that I had in 1986 when I caddied for my father in the Masters, where the year that he won his 18th major. And I was on the bag, and I felt like I did have the best seat in the house watching my father. And I just didn't understand at the age of 24 how that really captured the audience. And I had so many people approach me. What was it like? It had to be so special, and particularly from your seat. And I've been writing notes for years and years. Just gosh, I'd love to put together my thoughts. And eventually, I teamed up with Don Yeager, co-author, and Don helped me organize my thoughts. And I think we came up with something I think I am very proud of. But really, the timing for me was to be able to present to my mom and dad, honor them, and pay tribute to them, and present to them this book. And kind of said, Mom and Dad, this is for you. And this is proof that I was listening, even though I pretended maybe I wasn't. I was listening.
Wow. I am I'm very curious about that, because that Masters, that was your dad's 18th major, and he was 46. He's the oldest person to ever win a major. And I don't remember anything about any particular shots or any particular moments about that. The thing I have stuck in my mind is watching your dad read a putt, and the camera was across the green from him, and seeing you right there on his shoulder reading that putt. Do you remember that conversation? Do you remember anything about that?
Well, I do actually. My dad obviously has set some records. Just this last year, Phil Mickelson actually became a couple of years older than Dad when he won the PGA Championship. But there's only been one older guy than my dad. But going back to 86, you got to imagine I'm a 24-year-old kid. And I think, my dad embraced me, made me part of it. I'd caddied for him a bunch before that. But he really made me part of what he was doing. And do you think that I could really read or understand the greens better than a guy that's already won 5 Masters? There's not a chance. But, we talked about it every hole. And we just, it's something that I'll never forget. You mentioned you don't remember the particular shots. I don't remember many particular shots, but Andy, I remember the emotions. It was just so incredible. And I kind of felt like that day in 86, particularly that Sunday afternoon, the reception and the ovation that Dad received as he approached each tee, as he approached each green was, yes, it was for what he was trying to accomplish that Sunday afternoon, but I felt like it was more than that. As you mentioned, he stood for, I think, so many wonderful things. He's made great decisions in his life. And I think that the crowd was recognizing that. And it was just, it was an embracing, it was an appreciation of Dad. And I'm telling you, he teared up as he approached each of these galleries, and he had to recollect himself every time, which was amazing to me. As it turns out, there was not a playoff. I don't know that Dad, really, you never know. He won it outright, but he was exhausted at the end of that whole ordeal. And I do remember the just intense emotions. It was amazing.
I do remember watching that and seeing him walk up the fairway, approaching those galleries, and I remember the ovation. And as I remember that, it occurs to me that people were not applauding for what your dad had done. They were applauding who he was and how he had lived his life. And to look at his family, that's just more evidence of good decisions and wise counsel. And I just, The book, there's one part in the book where you were playing in an important junior event, and you were signing your scorecard, and the phone rang, and they said it's your dad on the phone, and so you were a little aggravated because it's like, hey, I'm busy here, and your dad gets on the phone and he says, hey, how'd it go? And he's having you take him through every shot, for like 18 holes. And then you finally get through after like 20 minutes, and he says, hey, would you like to know how your dad did today? And you said, oh, yeah. How did you do? And he said, well, I won the U.S. Open.
Yes. That was the 1980 U.S. Open at Baltusrol. And you want to talk about a big spoonful of humility. I was 18-year-old kid, couldn't see past my nose. And God bless my father. He, as you mentioned, he listened to my boring story of finishing, ninth place in the third division, and he had just won the U.S. Open, and what a lesson for me, to put your kids first. And again, my mom and dad, I can never mention my dad without mentioning my mom, and they have been such a great team. They continue to be. They still continue to just have such wisdom. And I think, if I ever have a problem, to try to make a choice, I'll sit down with mom and dad and ask their opinion. They've been great role models for me and great guidance for me.
Well, the book is a great. It's a great way of memorializing your dad, but I have to believe that there is nothing greater to your dad than having you still seek his counsel. I can just imagine how that feels.
It's, I have 5 children, my mom and dad. They have 22 grandchildren, and they have not missed a beat switching over from parents to grandparents. And now, just recently, they have 2 great grandchildren, and they haven't missed a beat. They don't miss an event. They're always there to sit down and figure out a situation. So I'm so proud of them. And actually, I think their energies and their continued focus keeps them young. They're very involved, not only with family, but with the Children's Hospital, the Nicklaus Children's Healthcare Foundation, among many other charities. But, I look at my mom and dad's schedule, and I don't know how they do it. It's just energy. And I actually think that's the recipe for staying young.
Yeah, I hear you. And, in Best Seat in the House, you have 18 lessons that you refer to that your dad taught you, or that you learned from your dad. And, I would not have you go through all 18. We need to read the book. But if you had to pick one of them, and maybe it's not even the most important, but it might be your favorite or the most interesting to you, what would that be?
Oh, gosh. You know what? I think there's a couple, there's a few underlining, foundations in the book, maybe not particular lessons, but, loving your children unconditionally and, keeping them a priority in your life. And I've watched mom and dad do throughout their lives with us. I am trying to do it with my children. As you know, kids don't come with an instruction manual, so we are all parents and learning, right? And
Right.
I'm certainly that. But I think those 2 foundations across the board in those lessons, I think hopefully they stand out.
You mentioned your mother, Jack, and I can imagine sometimes just, I guess, the additional responsibility that she must have felt, because I know when they got married, she had high hopes, but she didn't. I guess probably had no idea that their life was going to be lived kind of under the microscope and in public like that. and yet they have they've lasted and thrived for 60 years. What has that 60-year marriage? How does that affect your marriage?
Well, it can be challenging. You think that's my example, and you think that couples just get married, they hold hands, and they walk happily, ever after into the sunset. And we all know that's not true.
Right.
I've asked both my mom and dad, and their formula is give more than you take from any relationship. And I don't know whether I had in there 85-15 or 95-5, but it's whatever it is, it's give a lot more than you expect out of a relationship. As you mentioned, Andy, no, they didn't know. Mom certainly didn't know that they'd be living under the limelight. But again, they met as freshmen at Ohio State University, and they fell in love early. And I think they were both 17. They got married at the age of 20. And I go back, my father actually was selling life insurance to support his habit of playing golf when he first came out on the tour. His first event was out in LA. So they get in the station wagon. I'm in the back as a baby, and they drive from Columbus, Ohio out to LA. My dad plays 4 rounds. The cost of that, all relocating and hotels and caddies and entry fees and all the above, his winner's check was $33.32. And he tied for last place with 3 people. And but anyway, soon thereafter, that was in 61, and then 62, he had the breakthrough winning the U.S. Open, and all of a sudden the limelight was on on Dad and his career. And actually, if you ask Dad, he'll probably say, had he known he was going to be in the limelight, he probably wouldn't have named his son after him, like I have been, Jack Nicklaus II. And of course, God love her, Helen Ross. I'm playing golf in college. Sorry for the long drawn out story. But,
No. I was going to ask you about that because I thought that was very interesting.
Well, I'm playing in a college tournament, and Helen's writing in a newspaper up there, sports columnist, and she says, "Well, Jack," he said, "you've been named Jack Nicklaus II. Would you ever name your son Jack Nicklaus III?" I'm like, "Helen, there's not a chance. I mean, no way would I do that." And of course, my firstborn is born, and there wasn't any discussion. I have a Jack III. So, when it comes right down to it, we're just so proud of Grandpa.
Well, at least he did not do what George Foreman did. At least you all aren't named Jack.
It's much easier to call everybody to dinner, though, right?
Yeah,
George, dinner's ready.
Hey, what did you? I think about you digging into these stories, and I know that you're writing what you know, you're writing what you remember, but writing is something that requires a lot more thought than just telling a story. And so I know that you've been probably telling these stories for years and been sharing these stories, but when you started writing and thinking through them with Don, what surprised you? What kind of took you by surprise?
Well, frankly, how tough of a task it is to write a book. To be honest, I as you mentioned, I have a lot of thoughts. I had them all over pieces of paper, but to actually organize them was not an easy thing. But again, my thought was never, honestly, to sell a bunch of books. My goal was to honor and pay tribute to Mom and Dad, as I mentioned earlier. And
Right.
I know Mom and Dad are very proud of me for doing that.
Do you see? I mean, it doesn't sound to me like your dad. Well, your dad didn't have to live vicariously through you. But do you ever see parents that you think, man, you didn't do what you wanted, and now you're pushing this kid? I mean, what do you think when you see that? I
could go on and on about that, and I'm sure I've been a bad parent in the stands before, but I really try to be patient. And it was interesting. I overheard Dad talking about that the other day, and you know, talking about me and my goals. And Dad's won, say he's won over, he's obviously 18 majors, over 100 golf events, and so anything that I might try to do is probably going to pale in comparison to what my father's done. So I've kind of taken the approach with my kids. Look, you may not win all the majors and all the trophies, but you darn well better try to win. But you also better enjoy the journey. And I think that's really important. I love watching my kids. I want them to win more than anything. I think what's so great about sport is that I think it parallels a lot in life. Sport is about winning. Life is about winning. Family is about winning. Business is about winning. But it's also, winning in the right way. And I think Dad has been a great example of that, whether he wins or he gets beat. And, I just, it's been fun watching him. And again, as parents in the stands, I've seen parents get frustrated. I've been frustrated. I try to zip my lip. But anyway, I nothing more that I enjoy than watching my kids run around on the field.
Now, here's an interesting question that I like to ask people this, whether they have a famous dad or not. But this would be particularly interesting, I think, to hear your answer to this. And this is not necessarily a golf answer, but what's the smartest thing you've ever seen your dad do?
Oh gosh, or
the wisest moment. What sticks in your memory, or what comes out when I ask that?
Honestly, I don't know that I think of one particular instance, Andy, but I think of generally how he's made decisions. And I actually asked him, I said, Dad, how do you make choices in life? What are the things that you remember from your father? And he went straight to the golden rule. He said, he's lived his life by that. He's always tried to treat people fairly and treat people as he would want to be treated himself. And he's, unlike a lot of us, he's always been able to apply that. I get caught up in the weeds oftentimes, and Dad's been able to step back, and he always seems to see the bigger picture. You look at, I will state a specific example. I think it was the 70 or 71 Ryder Cup. He's playing Tony Jacklin, and it came down to the last hole, and Dad had about an 8-footer to win the match. He rolled it by about 4 feet, and he made the putt. And Tony is sitting there with about a 3.5-foot putt to tie the match. And everybody's caught up in the moment. Is Tony going to miss it? And the U.S. team wins the match, or is Tony going to make it and they're going to tie? That it happened to be the U.S. would have retained the cup because they won 2 years prior. And my dad didn't even think about it. He reached down and picked up Tony's marker, Tony Jacklin's marker. And he says, great match, Tony. They halved it. They walked off arm in arm. And it's called the concession. And, Dad was asked, what were you thinking on that? And again, here's a kid. Dad's only 30 years old at the time.
Yeah, and this is not a gimme putt.
Not a gimme putt. And he said, Tony was probably going to make that putt, but I was never going to give him the opportunity to miss that putt. And it's just, here's a guy that oftentimes we all get caught up in competition, but he always saw the bigger picture. And I think that's a great example of that.
Wow. Yeah, that, I hope that's in the book.
It is.
Yeah. What an amazing example from for everybody, but especially for his children. So I guess if you could knowing everything that you put in the book, And the book is done now. I mean, it's ready. Is there anything that you look back and you go, wow, I forgot that? Or has something happened since you wrote the book? You go, I wish I could put this in there.
You know what? I don't. We stopped at 18 lessons. I had more. I'll tell you what did happen for me was towards the end of the book. And I was sitting down. Don and I were sitting down with Jim Henry and who helped us. And Don says, "Well, Jack," kind of on an off the cuff question, said, "Tell me about the relationships with your children." And I, off the cuff, started to answer that question. And I stopped. I said, "You know what, Don? Let me go to my kids. I'll have an answer for you tomorrow." And I didn't know whether all my kids would respond in one day. So I reached out to each of the kids. And I said, "Would you mind putting something on one piece of paper?" How I'm starting to get emotional thinking about it. But, please describe what you see our relationship is. And all 5 of my kids wrote a nice little note and described the relationship that they saw that we shared. And I shared those. That was my final chapter in the book, was that, reflecting out.
And what an amazing legacy that final chapter is for your dad and mom. I mean, that if nothing, if words won't work, that'll tell them how good a job they did. Yeah, man, I wish you nothing but the best, Jack, with this book, and any way that I can help, I'm honored to do so. We're going to have how to order the book on the show notes, and I will promote this book outside this show.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show, and anything I can do from my end, please let me know. Really enjoyed it.
Appreciate you taking the time. Thank your wife for loaning you to us, and tell your parents we appreciate them.
I will do that. Thanks, Andy.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Range balls for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by the all-new Imitation Plastic Wood Council of America. Is your plastic patio furniture so lightweight that it blows into your neighbor's yard every time there's a storm? Is the sun degrading the integrity of your plastic storage shed? Do you love the feel of smooth plastic, but hate the cheap look? Well, friend, perhaps it's time you invested in the good stuff. Imitation plastic wood. Now you can order tables and chairs that are solid and weighty. You can purchase imitation plastic wood in planks to build things that will last and, best of all, look good. Ours is the newest innovation in home improvement. Imitation plastic wood is patented and readily available in usable pieces of oak and pine. Oak and pine, you ask? Yes, research has shown the best imitation plastic is wood. Therefore, what could be better put to use as imitation plastic wood than wood itself? So make the switch today and support the efforts of the Imitation Plastic Wood Council of America. You'll be glad you did.